Have you ever wondered how some people seem to grasp complex concepts effortlessly? Well, let's unravel that mystery together. Today we're journeying into the world of Professor Richard Feynman, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, renowned as much for his profound intellect as for his incredible teaching skills. Now, what if I told you that this man, often hailed as the great explainer, developed a method that could help you learn, well, virtually anything? Yes, that's right. Welcome to the Feynman Technique, an ingenious four-step approach to mastering any subject matter. Feynman, amidst his groundbreaking discoveries in quantum physics, was also working out a formula for effective learning. His method didn't involve any complex algorithms or high-tech gadgets. It was simple, straightforward, and surprisingly effective. So what are these magical four steps? First, you pick a topic and study it. Sounds pretty standard, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Next, you teach it to a child. Now, before you start worrying about finding a child to teach quantum physics to, let me assure you, it's more about the essence of this step. The idea is to simplify the concept to its most basic elements. Then you identify and fill in the gaps in your knowledge. This is a process of self-discovery where you recognize your weak points and address them. And finally, you simplify the concept further and use analogies to understand it better. This step helps in internalizing the concept and making it a part of your cognitive arsenal. These steps may seem simple, but when applied, they can transform the way you learn and comprehend new information. So, whether you're a student struggling with a tough subject, a professional trying to pick up a new skill, or just a curious mind wanting to understand the world better, the Feynman technique could be your key to unlocking a world of knowledge. Now let's delve into each step and how they can revolutionize your learning process. The first step in the Feynman technique is deceptively simple. Pick a topic and study it. First, clearly identify the specific area of knowledge or understanding that you wish to learn about. You can then read about it, make notes, and come to your initial understanding as you might normally do so. When we say study, we don't mean a cursory glance over some random Wikipedia pages. No, we're talking about a deep dive into the heart of the subject matter. The Feynman technique advocates for an immersive learning experience, where you focus on one topic at a time. This is not about multitasking or skimming through information. It's about embracing the joy of discovering new knowledge and nurturing a genuine curiosity. Consider how Professor Richard Feynman himself approached studying. Feynman was known for his voracious appetite for knowledge. He would delve into a topic, devouring books, articles, and any other sources he could get his hands on. He was not content with just surface-level understanding. He sought to grasp the underlying principles, the nuts and bolts of how things worked. Let me share an anecdote to illustrate Feynman's dedication to learning. Once, Feynman decided he wanted to understand the science of biology. So what did he do? He didn't just skim through a biology textbook. No, Feynman enrolled in biology classes, read biology books, and even conducted his own biology experiments. He immersed himself in the subject, living and breathing it until he understood it as well as any biologist. This level of commitment to studying a single topic is what sets the Feynman technique apart. It's not about the quantity of information you consume, but the quality of your understanding. It's about truly getting to grips with a topic, understanding it from all angles, and being able to explain it in simple terms. So pick a topic that sparks your curiosity. Dive into it, read about it, think about it, talk about it, live it, breathe it. Let it consume you until you understand it inside out. After studying, it's time to test your understanding, which leads us to the second step. Imagine explaining what you've just learned to a 5-year-old. Sounds challenging, right? Indeed, the essence of understanding lies in simplicity. As we delve into this scene, we'll explore how teaching a concept to a child can help streamline your knowledge and sharpen your understanding. Let's borrow from the wisdom of Professor Richard Feynman, a man known not only for his scientific brilliance, but also for his ability to convey complex matters in a way that even a child could grasp. He firmly believed in the power of simple language and storytelling in teaching. Picture this. You've just learned about quantum mechanics or maybe the intricacies of the human brain. Now try explaining this to a 5-year-old who's more interested in the latest video game than in the mysteries of the universe. It's a tough gig, isn't it? But here's the secret. The simpler your explanation, the better you understand the topic yourself. When you strip down a concept to its bare bones, you're forced to sift through the jargon and the technical terms to get to the heart of the matter. You see, children don't do well with fancy words. They need stories, examples, and analogies. This is where Feynman's approach shines. He was a master at taking the complex, the abstract, and transforming it into a tale so simple, so engaging, that a child could not only understand it, but also enjoy it. He didn't just teach, he told a story. So the next time you learn something new, take a moment. Imagine you're sitting across from a bright-eyed, curious 12-year-old. How would you explain this new knowledge to them? What story would you tell? And in doing so, you'll find that your understanding of the subject deepens. You'll realize that the ability to simplify is not a step away from complexity, but a leap towards understanding. In the end, remember this. The true measure of understanding is not in using big words and complex sentences. It's in making someone else understand, especially a child. Once you can explain it in simple terms, it's time to identify your knowledge gaps. Even the best learners encounter roadblocks. The key is knowing how to overcome them. Now, you've studied a topic and tried to teach it to a child. But what if you stumble? What if there are gaps in your understanding? This is where the genius of Richard Feynman's approach shines through. Feynman understood that confusion is not a sign of failure, it's an opportunity for growth. It's like finding a locked door in a hallway. You could ignore it and move on, or you could find the key and discover what's inside. Feynman always chose the latter. He was never content with surface-level understanding. If he encountered a concept that didn't make sense, he would dive back into his sources, seek additional information, and wrestle with the idea until he could explain it in simple terms. Such dedication to understanding is not limited to Nobel laureates. Let me share a personal story. Once I was trying to grasp the concept of quantum mechanics. No matter how much I read or who I listened to, it was like trying to catch smoke with my bare hands. So, I took a leaf out of Feynman's book. I dove back into my sources, sought out new materials, and wrestled with the concept until it started making sense. I realized that quantum mechanics wasn't impossible to understand. I was just approaching it from the wrong angle. Just like me, you too can use this method to conquer your learning hurdles. Whenever you find yourself stuck, don't be discouraged. Instead, identify the areas of confusion and then revisit your sources or seek additional information to fill these gaps. It might take some time, but remember that the journey of learning is not a race. It's a path of discovery, of unlocking doors and exploring what's behind them. It's essential to remember that learning is not about memorizing facts. It's about understanding concepts. And sometimes understanding requires us to go back, to dig deeper, and to view things from a different perspective. It's okay to feel confused. It's okay to have gaps in your knowledge. What's not okay is to let these gaps remain unfilled. With your knowledge gaps filled, there's one final step to solidify your understanding. So buckle up as we dive into the last and most crucial step of Feynman's method in the next scene. The last step of the Feynman technique is all about simplicity and creativity. It's all about making things easier to understand. And one of the best ways to do this is by using analogies. Analogies serve as bridges, connecting the familiar with the unfamiliar, the known with the unknown. They can turn the complex into the simple, the abstract into the concrete. Richard Feynman was a master of this. He could take the most complex scientific theories and explain them in a way that anyone could understand. He often used ordinary, everyday things in his analogies, making his explanations relatable and easy to grasp. For instance, he once explained the phenomenon of quantum mechanics using a simple game of chess. He didn't expect his listeners to understand all the rules and strategies of the game, but by comparing quantum mechanics to chess, he made a difficult concept feel more familiar and less intimidating. Now, let me share a personal experience. I once struggled to understand the concept of gravitational waves. It was all just too abstract, too theoretical. But then, I came across an analogy that made it all click. Imagine a trampoline with a heavy ball in the center. The ball represents a massive object, like a star, and the trampoline represents the fabric of space. When the ball moves, it creates waves in the trampoline, just like a moving star creates gravitational waves in space. Suddenly, the concept wasn't so abstract anymore. It was something I could visualize, something I could understand. That's the power of analogies. They take the unfamiliar and make it familiar. They take the complex and make it simple. So the next time you're struggling to understand a difficult concept, try to think of an analogy. It might just make everything click. And there you have it, the Feynman Technique. A simple yet powerful method to learn anything.